the Dreamboats started as a cover band, but along the way you started to write original music that was still within that same universe. In 2014 you release a two-song, I guess an EP I would call it, so Love Control and Don't Go Home are the songs. When you think back to releasing those two songs, those kind of kickstarted the journey you're on with original music. What kind of memories and emotions and thoughts come back to you when I name those two songs? Is there a special place in your heart? That was the beginning of something different.
Definitely. Yeah, I think at the time too, we were looking to try releasing, like we had some ideas and releasing. We tried to get we got the demo grant from like Factor. We tried to like get some, maybe we try to get some Factor bucks at the time. Thankfully, we never had to rely too much on funding through our career. But this moment here, we just want to try getting into the system. And we should be trying to rely on some funding. I'm not going to lie. But at the time, I just remember, it was just kind of a new feeling of being like, okay, we're putting this down on some wax here and then getting it out there. We made we made some little vinyl records out of it.
Quite literally, yeah. Like the way in my mind that it stands out as special is that the first song, Love Control, was like a rough idea that Richie here had. And then I remember getting together, we were at Rock Pro Music Center, which was the lesson center that Richie helped market and worked at and really helped build up in many ways. We were just sitting there and we're like, we ordered a pizza and we're like, okay, let's like finish this song. So to me, that song had such a collaborative effort from the band at that point. And then I remember Don't Go Home was a song that Brian, our bass player, had written. I remember telling him, it was around Christmas, I'm like, yo, man, you want a Christmas gift? I'm like, write a song for the band. So he wrote Don't Go Home. And I remember that's how that came together. And we actually recorded the whole EP in Rock Pro. So Joel, I think you're familiar with Rock Pro.
I forgot about that place until right now. I've spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, so we recorded
over your stuff. We were rehearsing there like every week.
Yeah, so we recorded there in the back room, and I remember having the idea. I was like, we want to release it on vinyl, and I was like, I want to number all of these things. It's going to be an exclusive. The first release, we're going to get it pressed on vinyl. So, and we did that, and so every one of those copies has a hand numbered thing on it, and it just meant a lot to us for the first release. It was really retro.
And what I was thinking about it too at the time too, when you talk about what it brings up memory wise, I remember at that time I was going through a vocal injury. I remember recording that song.
Which one? Love Control.
Love Control. Screaming my freaking ass off in that song, and I had a polyp on my vocal cord at the time when I recorded that song.
Oh. So that's that grit you get.
How did you guys record there? Did you guys bring in equipment to record, or is there a studio within the
Brian, original bass player. Brian was a beast. He was awesome. He brought in all of his gear and recorded all of that, and then we did some overdubs at his personal studio.
Well, that was we demoed it, like the drums and like and guitars and whatnot, and that was going to be like our demo for like the Factor funding, and then the takes were good, and
the recording actually sounds really good. Like I listened to your entire discography several times leading up to this to be ready, and that actually stands out as like it sounded really good. Those two songs.
It's right in your face. The master too. We got a master. Was it Carvalho there or whatever? But it was like we got that master back, and it's like right in your face. It's sizzling.
When you have that thing on your playlist, it just comes out of like nowhere. It's like holy shit! Like it's crazy.
So it's pumping. But
yeah, Johnny, I was gonna ask if that's the most fun original song that you play on drums, because there's like the intro. It's like a fast, blistering tempo. There's like some tom work. There's like a lot of cool stuff in there. Is that a song that when you look down at your set list and it's coming up, do you get excited?
Are we referring to Love Control or Don't Go Home? Maybe.
Oh, Love Control. Sorry.
Love Control. Yeah. Actually, that's one of those songs. It's fun to play, but it's tricky to play even to this day, because I'm trying to do this kind of Ringo style beat, but we played a little faster. And by the end of the song, I'm definitely like fatigued playing it. So it's a tricky song, and I challenge anyone who wants to play along to any Dreamboat songs, try doing Love Control on the drums. I'm curious to see anyone else.
Did Love Control start, the writing of Love Control, did it start with that cool guitar riff?
No,
that came later.
Well, like I had an idea from a song that like I was kind of inspired by at the time and whatnot. And I was talking with Matt about it, I was hoping that he could kind of, I was kind of like melting out some certain rhythms and like some certain kind of notes, and he just kind of went with it.
We should say the song.
No,
why not?
I'm gonna say the song.
Why not? It doesn't sound like it.
I think at the time we've been called out for it sounding pretty similar to it from a couple of people, but I don't know. I feel like there's so many songs.
I'm gonna say it. Chris was like this. He was like, "Look, I want a riff kind of like Life in the Fast Lane." Okay, so Matt started. So Matt kind of was doing that riff, and I remember being like, Matt, the guitar player at the time. I was like, Matt, could you try and do that riff that you're doing, but play it as if George Harrison was playing it? And Matt is like a genius like that. He was like, okay, and he did like a little more choppy, and we're just like, oh, that's great, So but that's it. The inspiration, you know how it is. It's like you have ideas. There's things that work in certain songs, and you just form them to your way, and it's
there's a lot of elements in that song. Like even I remember one of the things that one of the hook itself was like leave my woman alone. And I completely, if we're going to talk about it, I completely, I remember going through a little bit of like a weird little breakup at the time. And if you listen to the lyrics itself, there was this one moment here where I was having like this like kind of breakdown with this girl at the time. And the song, When I Was Your Man by Bruno Mars was playing in the back. And I remember just sobbing with this person at the time. And then months later, the whole situation kind of got really twisted to the point where we were just not like really on the same good page, and kind of got like kind of bad. And in a way, it was I used the lyrics of that song in the chorus and kind of flipped them in a way to kind of just be like F you to that moment. F you to that person. I don't know.
This is a true deep dive. This is the good stuff you don't get in a 10-minute interview. This is
I don't really go that deep, but if you want to know the ideas behind it. And then when I think about it now, like I used, as sad as I was, I really tried to mask it with like this kind of like, cruder, obnoxious way of flipping these lyrics in this moment that I had such a sad part in, and just kind of really just in my way flip it and just make this song and use the context of those lyrics in a way that kind of worked with it, and then that went with the whole theme of the song, be love control. And so check out the lyrics, anyone, and you can see what I'm talking about in that regard. Yeah.
Check out the lyrics, but also check out the artwork. I think the artwork is amazing for that. So do you want to describe what the cover is for our listeners or people that haven't seen it? I think, again, just like the Dreamboats, the name is perfect for the image and sound of the band. That cover, I feel, is like a great visual representation of what the Dreamboats are,
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, I appreciate that. So that was designed by Laura Hart. I believe she painted it as well, or did something. But she was one of the earliest true fans of the band, and not like fan in the sense of I'm a fan. She was like, we would hang out with her. She would come with her group of friends when we were playing at the Finn McCool's, and they would show up, and they were always dressed retro. And she was just a really cool.
Cool girl. Magpie, though, I like to say.
As well, but it was the early days as well. But yeah, also the Magpie, she would come out weekly with her friends to a weekly residency we did in Toronto. And she was an artist. And I remember we were, looking for someone to do the cover, and we were like, let's get Laura to do it. She'll come up with some cool ideas. She was always sharing her doodles, and she came up with a bunch of different ideas, and we settled on that one. She had all these sketches. We were like, oh, the car, the kiss, that's really cool. And then she kind of finished the idea, and that was that. But Laura's actually an awesome artist, and her art now is actually pretty. What would the word be? Pretty
comically provocative, pervert.
She pushes boundaries.
Perverted, but not perverted in the sense like it's very tastefully
pushing boundaries.
Not tastefully, like kind of X-rated.
The opposite.
But whatever the opposite word of tasteful.
So awesome.
Amazingly untasteful.
Yeah, big shout out to Laura Hart. I don't know her Instagram handle off the top of my head, but if you type in Laura Hart, she's got really cool artwork. So it's an honor that she did the artwork for us.
I think amazingly untasteful is like the perfect, that in quotations. That sounds awesome.
Amazingly
untasteful. I hope someday this podcast becomes amazingly untasteful. Like I just like that term for some reason.
That's the thing.
We're on our way. We're not done
Yeah,
yet.
we're working on. We got another hour to go. Yeah. I was going to ask you, once you released these two original songs, did any new opportunities present themselves? Because it wasn't just a cover band. It was like, wow, they have some amazing originals as well.
I think that was one of the reasons why we also started releasing music, is that we felt we couldn't get onto certain bills until we had original music. People knew us as strictly the cover band. I remember we played like Low Key Fest. Colorado actually was the headliner that night. And it was like, we wanted to have original music. We couldn't go there. I don't even think promoters wanted us to be this tribute act, you know? So we kind of needed a release of some sort to get in the system, Spotify, just to let people know we were there in the original realm. But with that release, I would say that opened us up to going to Europe for the first tour in 2015. Like we had some original songs under the belt. And so having that release enabled us to reach out to venues, reach out to promoters, be like, hey, we're a retro influenced band. We wouldn't say we were a cover band, and we would only show them the original stuff. You know, so that really enabled us. I don't know if you had anything.
No. It's pretty much true. It's just like just try to get out of the perception. Even like when Johnny wanted to get us into like the Elvis Mondays over at like the Drake Hotel, you know, like we need original music. Okay, I'm like, okay, well, I have some idea that was originally like a punk song, but you know, we'll shape this to make it sound like a 50s song or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Mickey B at the time, you know, introduced one of his songs and stuff like that. That was really cool. And you know, we took a couple ideas from some of those sessions and made something of them. But yeah, getting the notoriety or like the reputation of going beyond just a cover band was something that was very important to us, and still is to this day. It's just, you know, you're doing your best to kind of figure out what's the best lane or what's the best angle to take with certain promoters and certain you know, bookers, and you just hope that they can pitch you to whatever suiting, you know, scenario. And if it's the original thing, then we'd go that route. If it's half original and we're just the Dreamboats and we're the show, cool. If we're at the corporate thing and we know what they want, we're going to give them all the.
We're chameleons.
You know, yeah, so we definitely do our best to kind of like to be a chameleon-esque in that way. But
I feel like having the original songs that are the 50s, 60s still style, that actually helps you guys to really stand out, because, you know, there can be cover bands of that time period, but there's very few new current artists that are playing original music that has that sound, you know? So like there, I think of like Leon Bridges, and that's almost it. Like, you know, so he's someone that's like, that's having a ton of success with a retro sound, but I can't think of that many others. So I feel like your original music with a vintage vibe actually is your unique selling proposition if we're talking in business terms.
There's varying degrees. There's ones that are like very like traditionalist with their kind of like you know, some that sounds like a little throwback-esque or like 50s influenced stuff, but still in like modern pop like production, like, you know what I mean? You know,
like a Michael Bublé whenever there's a few
like,
originals.
Or like, you know, Amy Winehouse was a perfect example of like, you know,
that's a good one.
Motown vibe out there. You know, early Bruno Mars was really, really cool. You know, Meghan Trainor had like some vibes, like, you know, literally like lifting Dion and the Belmont, like, you know, Run Around Sue and making Dear Future Husband in like this. I thought that was freaking
all brilliant. About that bass where it sounds like a stand-up bass.
And it's got like you know, it's got like the images of the soft 50s, like, you know, the colors, the vibe, the style, and being able to kind of infuse that into a modern thing is really cool. I'd be honest with you, like, I want to reach out to Tom Hanks. I feel like we're like a product of his, we're like children of his, like, of his movie, That Thing You Do. Like, I remember taking like Carolina, you know, in grade 7 to like go see this, you know, this movie. And I'm even listening, even when we were driving down here, I was listening to the That Thing You Do soundtrack, you know what I mean? And like being like, these songs are so freaking killer, and they sound like modern. But they have just
they have all the ingredients,
all the sprinkled like ingredients of just like. And I'd love to be able to do that. And that's like, and that brings us to another thing that we have with the situation of our band right here, moving down here, is that like all this takes time, like writing, getting out here, like, you know, maintaining like a roof over our heads, gas, you know, a little bit of something to eat, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we're living off like, you know, tips and existing band fund, like pre-pandemic, and, you know, and writing music and really digging into that is something really, really hard. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
like,
with all this other
with all this kind of stuff going on, and like we have stuff in the pipeline that we're working on, but like, you know, right now we're focused on like, okay, well, we got to make sure we can live somewhere next month. So how are we going to do that? Okay, well, we got to play a lot of gigs. Okay, what's our sellable thing right now that can, you know, put money in our pocket, kind of thing? Well, playing events. Okay, well, what do they really want at these events? Maybe they want, you know, the mix of the covers. And so it's finding this constant balance of like, of when to focus on the original, when to focus on making sure the you know, the cover stuff is tight, because that pays the bills. I've been self-employed since 2016 through a mixture of like songs, you know, for teaching and performing. And unfortunately, a lot of my bread and butter didn't come from Spotify streams of Love Control. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, where does this effort go into? And we want to be creative. We are creative beings, but it's just hard to really kind of like find that balance of like and let people know what we are, and that perception of that. Like, and I love you interviewing for us to really get it from the side of where we want to take it in a very, you know, candid way of what we believe ourselves, and what we believe in ourselves, and what we want to start pushing, an image that we want to push forward with. But the question is, does it get there? You know? So
it's always a battle between the covers and the originals, because unfortunately the covers are where today, like right now, the money comes in. Like, the people are willing to pay for cover bands, for corporate, for weddings, for special events, but for longevity and for a career, you need the originals. So it's like, where's the sacrifice? It's like, you know, you want to focus full time on the original music because that's what you'll be remembered for, and that's your career, but the money is later on with those, versus they're dangling the big, you know, the $4,000 wedding paycheck for an afternoon.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy because like right now there's a lot of cool cover acts that are coming out. Like in Canada, obviously we always reference Dwayne Gretzky, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and they play huge events. They get a nice young crowd of people that are just out to party. Out here in California, there's a band called Yachtly Crew, and they do all like kind of soft rock covers, and the people who show up to their shows are all wearing these sailor hats. It's like a whole cult following. And you know, we see these bands and we're like, you know, we can also build this kind of community with our band too, regardless originals or covers. It's like we've always been pigeonholed into one or the other, and I'm just like, I just wish we could tell people we're just everything. We're just a band. You know what I mean? We do covers. The Beatles did covers in the early days. You know what I mean? On their CDs, some covers, some originals, some this. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You know, that's what would be nice to tell people at our shows. But yeah, in this early stage, especially moving to California, you got to pitch the band to people. And it's like, you know, we're just like, yeah, we're this cover band, but we also have original, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, now we're just like, yeah, we do covers. And then when we throw in originals, it's like this pleasant surprise, or, you know, it's a thing. And that's, it's hard to balance.
It's definitely a crazy, you know, thing. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or anything like that. You know, but like we're doing our best to really try to get, you know, from what our mentors tell us, is to live in the fear zone right now. And that's the only way for like growth. And like for us, it's like, you know, we moved out here in January because we were like, we're not going to be twiddling our thumbs till the pandemic, when our gigs,
everything kept getting canceled in Canada.
April. So we did that. And then in the meantime here, you know, I mean, you're seeing, we just did the LAC, we just sold out Burlington, did really well. And like in the neighboring towns, or you know, from that little Ontario stint that we did, you know, and we're coming over here and we're just like relatively unknown outside of like the Palm Springs, like Palm Desert area, you know, and really like, you know how tempting it is when we're like getting emails right now of people just being like, hey, we got this awesome gig for you, paying X amount of dollars. I would make this really easy, like good money. But you have to fly back. We got to be, and it's like, you know, we know that route. We felt comfortable in it. It's helped. And we're not like being disrespectful to anyone, bookers or anything back home. It's just like, you know, it's helped us maintain this career pre-pandemic leading up to this point, living comfortably. You know, we all got, you know, places that we're paying for, and you know, family and all these things. But now it's like we're like taking this leap and like literally like hitting the reset button. You know what I'm saying? And
in
like
many ways.
in many ways. And
We have
like,
a good product, but yeah, like
the product is there. It's just how do you convince people over here without having them give you like that low ball first gig, you know, offer to be like, look, we are here. We've been doing this since 2009. You know, we know that we can entertain your guests, you know, and how do we get the numbers that we want over here? You know what I mean? And then from there, we got to ask ourselves, what are we playing? What do people want? And we got to assess. And then hopefully we get ourselves into this whole scenario. It would have been pretty naive if we thought we were going to come here to California and just start running shit. You know what I mean? Like, but we definitely feel confident in the product. People that are seeing us are buying into the vision. And it's just right now, we got to find out what is our best lane, get it, feel like we're nice and financially stable, and then from there have some options. We're looking into management right now, you know, and taking that cake and just take the cake. Just make sure you can help supplement the gigs and get us in touch with the right people and bookers. And right now we're just trying to ask ourselves what's the best way to go about doing it. And I think right now with getting funds and keeping afloat, the cover thing is the thing to go. But we do have original stuff that we're recording in the pipeline that when it's ready to go and we have the plan outside of it, and we're feeling like we got a nice little buffer zone that's going to feel good financially, that we can start making some other moves that
or
go
start
beyond
being creative.
yeah.
Again, which would be a lot of fun.
But even the manager that we're talking, like, you know, this potential manager that we're talking about, like today with, and we're keeping our options kind of open and just feeling out relationships. They're saying too, like, yo, you need to start making original music. You need to start applying for funding. You need to, you know, we got to get these guys involved. We got to get some songwriters potentially involved. And so it's all a work in progress. But like I said, you know, we're doing our best, you know, to live beyond, what anyone can expect from us. And we're putting our own necks on the chopping block to like be down here.
And we're a little older too. Like, you know, we're in our mid 30s. I mean, I'm 35, and it's like, you know, making a move like this at this point in your career, like this is almost something people do in their 20s. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but you know, it's tough making a move like this, and especially when you've built so much at home. Like Richie was saying here, you know, we were doing theater shows at home. We were getting into that level, and coming down here, it's like, yeah, when we go to LA, we're playing like a bar. You know what I mean? That's just the reality. Out in Palm Springs and stuff, we're playing some really, really nice gigs. But you know, LA, you're just one of many. And how do you cut through that? You need connections. You need to build. So it's tough. And you know, at 35, I know Richie here is such an optimistic guy, which is great. It's good to feel the energy. I get scared sometimes.
I'm slightly delusional at the same time.
No, but
you also need that. Sorry. So when I talked to Glenn Milcham of Blue Rodeo, he said from the very start, he had this vision that he could make it as a drummer, even though he barely knew how to play. Like his huge optimism, it was basically like delusional in the right ways, where he's like, if I was rational, I would have never done what I've done. It's like somehow I had this confidence I shouldn't have had. I didn't have the talent to back it up. But with that grand vision and with that ridiculous confidence, it's like he had the vision of who he could be, and he became that person because he could see it before he was it. And you're talking about the comfort zone. The comfort zone is the actual danger zone. Like all the growth, all the opportunity, everything you've ever wanted is outside of that comfort.
I'm looking
zone.
at your Goggins quote in the back right there.
There you go.
I couldn't relate.
They're inspiring me right now. Yeah. So yeah, you know, life is a balance of chaos and order. If you have too much order, which is all in the comfort zone, it's safe, but there's not the excitement and the danger and the growth. And then if you're all completely out where the chaos is, it's too much for you to take in. There's no certainty. It's you don't know where you're going to live or eat tomorrow. That's too much chaos. So the right balance in life is having a certain amount of order, but having like one foot stepping into chaos, which is, you know, making your world a little bit bigger. And now you're comfortable with a little bit of that darkness and that chaos. And now your comfort zone is a little bigger, and you keep expanding it, you know?
I always like to say that Johnny and I are the yin to the yang. I'm the chaos. He's the order.
I believe it. I believe it.
You know how we operate.
Between the temperaments and the organizations and the, yeah. That makes sense, but you need that, right? Again, you need the chaos and the order. You need the yin and the yang, the light and the darkness. I'm not saying one of you is the darkness. I'm just saying,
I'm the dark. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
No, it's been a good relationship, man. Ever since it's been working to some degree, you know, for the past little amount of time since 2009. I never knew beforehand for that phone call. So
Well, I have some kind words sent in from someone that knows you about since around 2009, 2010. So someone who's known you for a while here. So this is from engineer and producer Kevin Dietz. So he's worked with Alexis on Fire and Billy Talent and Silverchair, a bunch of great artists. He was a guest on episode number 42 of the podcast. And this is what he has to say about the Dreamboats. He says, I've worked with the Dreamboats a few times over the years, and I've known the guys for quite some time. My own writing is horrible. They've persevered and they've kept at it, putting a lot of time and effort into building their audience. I'm continually stoked to see them grow and get more opportunities, bigger shows, grow their following. They put in the work and they deserve it. So that's from Kevin Dietz.
Kevin, that was so nice. I really appreciate that coming from him. That means a lot. We've worked with him. Yeah, as he mentioned.
He's just good vibes all around, Kevin, man. Seriously. He makes it so good in the studio. Right?
Yeah. Especially in the studio. Yeah. He's just so laid back and, but gets work done. And he's just the kind of guy I feel like we can even message and run stuff by him. Like, what do you think of this? And he would just help us. So it's so great. And yeah, we're very fortunate to know someone like him.
Kevin's cool.
He's a great guy. Thanks.
Kev.
Yeah.